Hello and welcome to Krakenari. Now, what I'm intending to do is read a few chapters from my book, The Motorcycle Undertaker, which was released last year after I'd had a nasty motorcycle accident. And I wrote a lot of it actually while I was recovering in Castle Hill Hospital and at my daughter's. And I'm pleased to say it's doing well. It's a success. It tells the story of my life amongst motorcycles, which for the last 45 years I've been involved with, and especially the 20 years that I ran one of the biggest breakers in East Yorkshire, dismantling bikes and sending the parts all around the world. It's a whole host of funny stories that I can't really explain some of them. And today we would say, how on earth did you get away with things like that? But it's all in here, and I'm going to read you a few chapters from it. Well, not a few chapters, a few stories. I'm going to read some for you. There's quite a few good ones that I think you'll find real funny. Funny stories from a funny bloke. The Honda CX500 Trike. This is a special three-wheeler that is most certainly not close to my heart, as it almost succeeded in flinging me from this mortal coil. Seriously, the blasted thing almost killed me, and I wasn't even up and running at the time of the attack. I think you could perhaps call it retribution for the way it fell into my hands. You never know, it could have been possessed by an old evil biker spirit in its past life. I'm confident a movie could be squeezed out of this one, or at very least a YouTube production. Perhaps a Netflix two-part drama sponsored by Honda. Unfortunately, the Trike itself could no longer be cast as a lead role, as it has passed through a succession of owners and moved its way down the country. I really must check to see if the owners are still living to tell the tale. After all, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that the sodding thing has managed to murder all those who get a tad too close and personal to it. It all started one morning in April. I clearly recall it was around springtime, as at first I was adamant that it was a complex April Fool's prank devised by my staff to make a total buffoon out of me, which they quite often succeeded in doing. I had a phone call from a lady over near Elvington, a satellite village just out of York. The call was taken by myself and went as follows. Most incoming calls went through the same dialogue. I don't know if it's the way I say my name or the callers are perhaps a little deaf. Regardless, I find myself continually spelling out my name. Bring, bring. Hello, Kevin Keld? Then a short pause. And then the caller usually struggles with the Keld part. Finally coaxing the response. Who? Kevin Keld, K-E-L-D. Ah, is that the motorbike place? At this point I refrained from shouting. For fuck's sake, you must know it's the motorbike place because it was you that rang. On this particular occasion, the lady from Elvington proceeded to tell me the life story of her son, who had long since moved to sunnier climes and had left her with his three-wheeled motorbike, and it was in her way, and she'd already cut her leg on it twice trying to get the lawnmower in the garage. Personally, I would have left the lawnmower outside the shed and hidden the Trike inside to avoid an altercation with it. The upshot of the call was that her son had built this Honda CX500 Trike and had since joined Her Majesty's forces and was currently posted overseas. She had been in contact with him and he instructed her just to dispose of it any way she could. Fed up of the leg-scratching episodes, she was now on the lookout for someone to rehome it. I toddled along to see her at the earliest opportunity and gave the machine a good looking over. It had been built with a reasonable amount of competence, and almost everything that should work did work. It It required the obligatory new battery, as most bikes that have been stood for any length of time do. The paintwork was a little on the dull side, but all in all, nothing that a good day in the workshop wouldn't put right. It was what she said next that knocked the wind out of my sails, and to the best of my knowledge only ever happened once in over 2,000 plus bikes purchased. "How much do you want?" she uttered. "I beg your pardon?" I said, quite aghast at what I thought she had said. "How much do you want to take it away for scrap?" Obviously taken aback, I managed to mutter out the reply along the lines of, "Nothing, missus, I'll dispose of it free of charge. In fact, I'll do better, I'll pay you for it." Obviously the lady was overwhelmed by this kind gesture. After all, she would be. It's not often Keld-The gets his hand in his pocket. She was almost too enthusiastic to help us load onto the small trailer we'd taken along. Trike loaded up, and with the lady paid in full, it was full steam ahead back to base. Well, actually down to Ball Acres, where the majority of the bikes were stored, and I carefully reversed the trailer into the end chicken shed and left it there to deal with later on. And that is where the trouble began. I managed to extricate myself from duties at the shop to take a ride down to the farm to unload the latest acquisition. After prodding and poking various parts of the trike and even rubbing several chrome parts with a cloth even, to reveal the quality of my find, I turned to the multitude of straps, holding it securely to the trailer. It wasn't until I began to release the last strap that I realised my leg was between the rear of the trailer floor and the rear axle on the trike. I made a vain effort to quickly remove the leg, but too late. The trike came rolling backwards, trapping my left leg firmly between trailer and trike. The weight of the trike had shifted to the rear, thus raising the front of the trailer to a 35-degree angle, and it was now impossible to roll the trike forward. After a whole barrage of swearing, including breaking up words to insert the profanities, I have now become quite adept at abso-fucking-lutely. I calmed down to take stock of the situation. It was impossible to remove my leg, which was now starting to become rather painful. I wasn't in a position to roll the trike forward, and added to that, I was becoming faint. If I were to collapse at that point, I would have certainly broken the leg, if I hadn't already. I was beginning to sweat and panic, and tried shouting. Shouting help seemed like a good idea at the time, but unfortunately I had picked a day when there was no one on the premises to rush to my aid. Damn, bugger, shit, and bastard-eared bastard were just some of the choice words and phrases bouncing off the walls that day. It seemed as if it were hours that I was stuck in that position, but in reality I guess it was only around 30 minutes. My life passed before me at a very sedate 30 miles per hour. I shouted so long and hard that eventually I lost my voice. No one came. With all the stress and turmoil, I found that I was now bursting to go to the toilet. Oh, great, I thought. The unlucky souls that will find me on Monday will have to endure the sight of me having half chewed through my shin bone, now soaked in piss. Have you ever tried to take a piss standing on one leg with the other trapped in machinery? I thought not. Take it from me, it's very difficult. Hopping to try and keep balanced sends piss spraying everywhere. I saved some of it to spray on my trapped shin. My thoughts were that it might be rather like spreading butter on a ring that's stuck fast on a finger. Please accept my apologies for that last sentence. I know what you're all thinking. No, not that ring. This was it. I thought it might be my last chance before slipping into unconsciousness. With a mighty heave, I succeeded in moving the trike just enough to wriggle my leg free from its jaws of death. Well, at least my leg was free, but it had been the only thing securing the trike to its trailer, and since it had been removed, the trike now rolled backwards and ran me over. I just laid out on the concrete floor, soaked in piss, heart beating frantically, and almost weeping with delight. and waited for 30 minutes for my body to come back into shape. I ventured, near staggered, up to the house at the farm and found that everyone was sat having a bloody barbecue. Not one of them had heard my cries for help, and as if that wasn't insulting enough, I'd missed out on the sausages, burgers, and wine. As for the trike, it was weeks before I could pluck up courage to re-enter that shed where that monster sat. I sold it to my good friend Barry, who put time, effort, and the finance into it to make a practical and fun machine for the summer. I never inquired what became of it, and personally I would never like to set my eyes on it again.